All right, I am back with an update to my developer study series. I'm actually doing a lot of different things with this, and I'm also using a portion of these techniques in another project. So it kind of gave me the idea to incorporate it in the developer study series. The main point is we're working with platform events here, which is basically Salesforce's event bus model. For you can subscribe and publish platform events to which other processes can subscribe, and you can do a lot of different things. The real benefit is that it decouples a lot of different processes so that things happen in sequential order. You can log properly. They're secure. They're fast. They work in high volume. So there's a lot of different benefits to using platform events. So I'll use one here, and I'd like to go ahead and show you how I did it. So I'm starting out. Actually, I'll go ahead and start out by reading through quickly basically the user story and acceptance criteria for this. So as a support manager, I would like for my support team to be able to categorize cases quickly based on text in the requests. And to do that, I'm actually going to use ChatGPT's API. And we're going to send over the description of the case, and we're going to return two different fields, two main points. We're going to return whether or not it's urgent or not urgent, and we're also going to return the reason the ChatGPT chose it, and we're going to add both of those to the case. And I've experimented with this quite a bit, and it does a pretty good job. And I think that the better you tune the request and the model and the prompt, I think the better the response you get. So it does serve the purpose. The acceptance criteria is that the support person will be able to have the cases categorized based on sentiment from the request. And you can add a bunch of different other values to it, and you can it just has to be almost hard coded into the prompt, just to make sure that you're getting the right response, and that you can add the response to a field that you can report on or categorize. You can't just have a bunch of loose text in every field, and you won't be able to categorize that properly. The deliverable, we have some Python. And we'll go through each of these. We have some Python, we have a Flow, and we also have some Apex. So it's a lot of different features in one process, but they all work together in harmony, and it's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to showing it to you. So let's go ahead and start out with the Python. And so here we have a post request to Salesforce. Basically, this is using REST API, and we use the request feature within Python, and we're hitting two endpoints. One of the endpoints in my org is for scheduling an appointment. This is what we had before. I think I've shown this one before. I've expanded on it and I added a few more fields: the description, the external ID. The external ID we had to create in order so if you want to access that record from an outside source, and you don't have the Salesforce ID yet, because we're posting this. Salesforce is going to create this case, but the case ID is not, we're not returning that to this Python script. So basically, you create an external ID, you send that and add it to Salesforce, and that way you can reference it when you need to access another record. So that to that point, when we want to create the platform event, we hit a different endpoint, and we also pass in the external ID along with the description, and those get added to the platform event. But we can also use that. So we also use that later. We query the external ID and get the case associated with that platform event, and then we send that case description over to OpenAI, get that sentiment, and it comes back. So the next feature, so basically this right here creates the platform event in Salesforce, but so that's the publish portion of it. But we also need a subscriber, and you can do that in a couple of different ways. What I did was I subscribed to the platform event from a flow. So let's go ahead and check that. Let me check that out. Okay, so here's the flow. Basically, I use a little bit of a naming convention here. And so we have platform event triggered flow. And from that, I gotta reload this. I hope it doesn't make me log back in. I haven't looked at it in a while. Okay, it doesn't make me log in. I'm already logged in. So we're gonna get case IDs. And so we're gonna get the case ID that equals the record, which is a platform event case ID. Because we have a case ID. When we created that platform event, we added the case ID to the platform event record. And we will look at that shortly, after I get finished showing you the flow. All right, so we're going to get all case IDs. We add them to a list, just because you have to pass in a list into the Apex action. They require a list. They can't use. I don't think you can pass in a single variable. So basically, we just pass in the list of case IDs, which is basically just going to be one. But we pass in the list of case IDs into this Apex action, which is called sentiment handler. Well, the Apex action is called something else, and I'll show you that in a second here. All right, so let's find it here. All right, so here is the Apex, and the Apex basically is a sentiment analysis service. This is what makes the call out to ChatGPT. Here's the endpoint, the completions endpoint. We're using custom metadata, so we're storing the API key in the custom metadata in Salesforce, and that way we can just reference it that way, and it's held secure and it's not getting backed up into GitHub. We're making an HTTP request, basically a REST request. We're constructing a prompt, and we're just adding the description, and we're giving it strict instructions to make sure that it gives me a sentiment, and a reason. It gives me a sentiment reason, and it gives me a whether or not it's urgent or not urgent, and that way we can report on that, and we can add those values to fields on Salesforce. So we're going to go ahead and make the request call out, and the response. I didn't construct an Apex class with all the all the variables where you can create an object that matches the JSON response from ChatGPT. I didn't do all that. I just parsed it. So, and it's well nested. I mean, there's like 3 layers of nesting, but it wasn't that difficult to go ahead and parse out what I needed. And so and then we update the case. We assign the sentiment and the sentiment reason to the case. And so here's a handler. Basically, this is what the invocable method that the flow calls. The flow calls this method, and this method will call the service. And here is the platform event service. So this is what this is the endpoint that the Python script hits. Basically, the method from Python hits this, and it uses the values that it passes in, the case ID. Well, it actually queries to get the case ID from the external ID, but then the script description and the external ID are passed in. They're queried, and a new platform event is created when this is passed in. When this is sent in. So let's go ahead and go to the UI and take a look. But one more thing I want to show you is, let's go ahead and take a quick look at platform event in the UI. So this is the one that we're using, case sentiment. We added some custom fields to it, the external ID, the description, and the case ID. And you can see the subscribers here. There's a flow, and then there's a trigger that's subscribed. And I'm not using the trigger. I was going to, but the flow actually, it was way better for demonstration purposes, and it actually works. It's actually a lot easier to use in this situation. So let's go ahead and fire up the, oops, that's the wrong Python script. Okay, so let's go ahead and fire up the Python app. So we'll fire up the Flask app. And don't get on me about the way this form looks, but this is just for, testing APIs and testing a bunch of different features in the UI, but it's not the best looking. Okay, let's use the email joe@joeshardware.com, and we'll see, it's Joe McMillan, and oops, I guess it should be still right. And Joe, we are not able, oops, process credit cards. So we'll just get an idea of what ChatGPT thinks of that. Is the ability to process credit cards, is that urgent or not urgent? All right, so let's go ahead and refresh. All right, so here is the new case that just got created, and it says urgent, and the reason why: the issue with processing credit cards can directly impact the business's ability to make sales and generate revenue. Immediate action is needed to resolve this critical issue. So ChatGPT believes that's urgent. I believe it's urgent as well. And so based on this, we can categorize, obviously if in our list view, we could categorize that based on urgency. And we can also create all the automations off of that. Do we want to add that to a queue? Do we want to add an entitlement to that? Do we want to use escalations? So there's a lot of different things that can be done based off of that information. But I just wanted to show you the basic portion of it. It's not really basic. There's a lot of different elements. I've shown you guys some Python code that actually created a case. It posts a case information to Salesforce along with the creation of a platform event. I showed you the platform event in Salesforce along with the flow that subscribes to it, and I showed you the sentiment analysis service in Apex, and that was quite a bit. So I appreciate you sticking with me throughout all of this, and I look forward to sharing the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.